Alright guys, I don't think this is going to be a very controversial opinion this time like my other videos. There's this feeling I've had within me about Furina ever since I did her story quest. A feeling that I just have to put into words because I believe the way they finished off Furina as a character just wasn't satisfying in general. It just didn't make any sense to me. Now, I understand that I've made a video clowning on her in the past and whatnot, and I don't think that video actually aged that poorly. For the most part, I was just making fun of her character, making exaggerated jokes at her own expense and whatnot. But I don't really think I was actually wrong about her situation. She really couldn't do anything because she wasn't an Archon. She had no power whatsoever and no plan to actually stop the prophecy. So I think I avoided the L with this video, I'm not gonna lie. But now that we finished the 4.2 Archon quest, which was a heavily major turning point for Furina as a character, I want to give my honest thoughts about how I felt about her situation and why I believe the ending she got wasn't right, at least for the time being. Now before I say this, I'm not entirely sure if Furina really does have the most tragic tale or story out of every other character in Genshin Impact. I'm not really too sure since I don't know every character's backstories. I mean, I know that Kale was like being tortured by the Toei or something in her past.
I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit.
Sucrose's friend died in her arms or some shit like that. A Yelan hasn't appeared in the game since 2.7, which honestly should be considered a crime, and Horrorverse should reimburse me for emotional damages for that. So who knows, there very well may be a character with a more tragic story than Furina. But I believe Furina's story is one of the more popular tragic backstories we have ever seen from a character recently. I mean, ever since she was essentially created as a person, she was subjected to living a complete facade towards an entire nation of people for an undetermined amount of time. Like, could you fucking imagine waking up all of a sudden, you don't know who you are or where you are, but this person who looks exactly like you pulls up to you and explains to you that you gotta lead an entire nation for practically the rest of your life until they come back with no time frame? You see, me personally, I wouldn't have let bro left until he explained every possible detail to me, made me sign some paperwork or something, cause there ain't no way my ass is taking that much responsibility off rip. No training, no guidance, nothing. I'm not Spider-Man or some shit. With great powers comes great responsibility, my ass, because she didn't even gain any Archon-like abilities from Focalors either. I'ma say it like how it is. I understand why Focalor had to do what she had to do, because at the end of the day, it was either this bitch suffered for 500 years or Fontaine died because Celestia gang wasn't gonna let go of that millennial-long beef. But I'm not gonna lie bro, this bitch was downright evil for doing this to Furina. She really spawned her in the game, gave her no abilities, nothing to protect herself, and just expected her to be able to run a nation off the bat and fool all of these people. Bro, deadass, she really did the fucking so I started blasting meme. Like, she was in the middle of explaining everything to Nervalette. She was talking about summoning Furina into this world, and all of a sudden, she just dropped the random fact that she cursed her to be immortal. Like, that's some regular shit to be doing to people.
Perfectly human in every way. The person I always wanted to be. Anyway, so then I cursed her.
Like, bruh, I understand why she had to do it, but couldn't she have helped Furina out a little bit more than that? I mean, like, damn, bro. So then Furina was cursed with this immortality and she lived in this fake life for 500 years. No end in sight for when this constant stress and anxiety about the prophecy she had no power to stop would end. Every single day for 5 centuries, she had to lie to people, keep all of her emotions bottled up, not spill a single piece of the secret to anybody no matter how small it was, because she never knew if even the smallest piece of information leaking out could jeopardize the entire nation as a whole. She truly couldn't reside in anybody, not even Nervalette. That's an unfathomable amount of mental stress any character could go through. That's some shit she will never recover from, even after being released from her shackles. She was a human being. She had the emotions and thoughts of a human being just like the rest of us. She saw people die and meet their descendants years later, and even after all of that, she still didn't break even once. I'm gonna be so honest with y'all. If that was me in that situation, I don't know, I would have ended it all like about the 10-year mark, bro. Okay, I'm not gonna lie with you, bro. I'm already depressed and I've only been living like, what, 19 years? My fate would have been sealed if I was in her position. But all of this is the reason why I'm upset with how they did her character in the end, because it has to be the dirtiest way to finish up a character like this. After the whole debacle with Fontaine realizing that Furina is in fact not the Archon and has no way to actually stop the prophecy, she was basically forced to resign from her duties and live a regular life, with Yelan taking up the throne as a new secret Hydra Archon, because let's be honest, Yelan was already a goddess the moment she entered the game, so it would make the most sense, especially now since Focalors is dead and her immortality curse is gone. We see this in her story quest, where we're commissioned to go to her new house and recruit her to be a part of this stupid ass trope nobody cares about, whatever. You know, just a typical NPC story quest implementation as usual.
Ah, I see. It's okay. I knew that asking for a volunteer was a long shot. If we can't find someone to step in, we'll have no choice but to cancel the show. It would be such a shame.
I am going to remind you in advance that I am very sorry and I apologize for the inconvenience of me not giving up.
Firstly, I just want to get this out of the way. Look, guys, I actually like Paimon, okay? Like, I don't hate her, but I can see why people do, especially because of this story quest. It's like this bitch is lacking every bit of self-awareness imaginable.
Did Catherine really give us the right address? She lives here? Not that there's anything wrong with this place, it's just, a bit of a step down from the Palais Marmonia.
You know, it's common courtesy to make sure the homeowner isn't an earshot when you're denigrating their abode.
Oh, sounds like you're really struggling to cope. Ah, there it is. You don't know how to cook.
I had to keep all my feelings, all my curiosity about life to myself. No one could be allowed to know. That's what I really meant when I said I'm no good at maintaining relationships.
So that's where you were coming from. Paimon totally thought you were just a bit of a diva at heart.
Just slyly shitting on Furina and her situation like it's supposed to be funny that an individual who has been getting mentally farmed for 500 years is suddenly forced to live a life completely different from that, or it's somehow her fault for ending up in the situation she's currently in. Like, sometimes this thing just needs to shut the fuck up. The moment we meet Furina at her new house, we're immediately hit with the sad reality of how her life is nowadays.
I was just out on a shopping trip. I ran out of macaroni, so I went to grab a few more bags. I used to have a much wider range of choices when it came to food, but now I'm finding that simple, traditional home cooking can be quite delicious too. Not at all. As long as you have different kinds of sauces in, you can have macaroni and tomato sauce one week, macaroni and bolognese the next.
I'm good.
Bro, you okay?
I'm good, bro. You geeking, bro. I'm good.
Bro.
But get hold of me. I'm good, bro.
Bro. Are you crying, bro?
This is literally depression, bro. When I saw Furina saying this, I fully understood how sad her character was up until this point. Furina is a character who was born into this world and immediately forced into a role she didn't even know she could uphold. But even when she found a way to uphold that role, the person who assigned her this role would never give her a sight of when it would end. Not once did Focalors pull her mirror magic and told Furina any good or upcoming news about her future. Furina was completely left in the dark, never knowing when her nightmare would end, and she kept up that front for 500 years until the prophecy was finally stopped and allowing Focalor to die and trick Celestia. And even after she did all of that, she was still forced to live a life that she wouldn't be happy with, because not only would that trauma never leave her, but everything she once enjoyed, she can't attain anymore because she's not in the Palais Marmonia. I feel like that's a very wrong way to treat her character. Furina may have never been the Archon, but in my honest truth and in my eyes, she should still be regarded as one in Fontaine, at least in secret. I feel like Neuvillette is fully at fault here too, because he knows exactly what Furina went through due to Focalors literally explaining all of it to him, and it just seems like he's just fine with Furina living his mundane life after all of this. Neuvillette should be treating Furina with royalty still for what she went through. Why can't they arrange anything in secret for her? She doesn't have to be a public spotlight anymore, but at least give her a far more comfortable life than any other regular Fontainian citizen, because a Fontanian citizen is what she is not. Furina should always be regarded as a higher entity than a citizen just for what she went through alone, and thus should be granted many privileges to make her life more comfortable or as luxurious as it once was, so that way at least she can die in peace doing the things that made her somewhat happy for all of those years. You can make the argument that it's a good thing she lives a regular human life because, oh, that's what she is. She should experience mortal life and its joys and wonders. And she even says it herself that she's curious about this new life she lives and whatnot. But if I'm being completely honest, I don't believe in that for not even a second. Once again, that trauma she endured will never leave her. The life she lived for 500 years will never leave her. She will definitely not be happy eating bologna, I think that's how you pronounce it, and macaroni in a messy room for the rest of her life. She genuinely sounds depressed. Like if there was ever going to be a Sayori insert in this game, it would be Furina, just straight up. She is not happy and she will never be happy. I would even go as far as to say that Furina easily has the most tragic story or backstory out of every other Archon we have seen so far, because even though the rest of the Archons have lost someone close to them, with Nahida losing Rukadevata, Raiden losing Makoto, Zhongli losing Guizhong, and Venti losing the Bard, at least after all of the troubles that they went through, they still had their power and their rank as an Archon, and their respective nations still appreciated or obeyed them in some capacity. Furina doesn't get any of that. In fact, her nation probably hates her more than even Raiden's nation once did, because you couldn't get away with trying to chase down any shogunate official, or even Raiden yourself without getting obliterated into a million pieces. She wouldn't have let that shit slide. She made it her absolute authority to exert her power over Inazuma and make her citizens obey her will. But Furina can't do that because she has no ability to do so. Neither does she have the power, but she doesn't even have the social influence anymore. And it's even worse with the fact that even when the Traveler and Paimon know about her situation, they're still hounding her about things she clearly doesn't want to talk about and not respecting her boundaries and her feelings as much as they should be. I would even go as far as to suggest for all of Fontaine to be given the truth about Furina's situation, because the only reason Furina couldn't tell anybody the truth was because the prophecy wouldn't be stopped if she did. But now that it's all said and over with, I don't see any reason why Furina or Neverland can't be upfront about it anymore and inform the Fontainians about what happened to her, because 100% if they told everyone what happened, people would be far more sympathetic for Furina. But for the time being, there's always going to be people who will hate her and treat her like trash, because as far as they know, Furina was a person who deceived them for all of those years. Even though the prophecy didn't come to fruition, she was still deceiving them by not actually being the Archon and never having a plan to stop the prophecy in the first place. If only people knew the real story, I'm pretty sure Furina would have been getting treated better in the long run. But I don't know. That's just my theory. Who knows if they still can't tell people the truth because blah blah blah, some lore or piece of dialogue I wasn't paying enough attention to just passed my eyeballs, and I'm purely yapping right now. But honestly, that's just how I feel about Furina as a character. Furina doesn't deserve this. She deserves better, and she always will for what she went through. I'm just disappointed for what they did with her character at the end, and I hope she gets more development as the story progresses.